What's up, everybody? I'm James. Welcome to Mechanical Mayhem, and welcome to the MechWarrior 5 Clans Flashstorm DLC story-driven campaign playthrough. This is where we will be checking out all the cutscenes, listening to the banter, and I'll be going over things pertaining to what's going on, the greater scheme of the Battletech lore, and all stuff in between for this really fun DLC campaign. We are one of the Silverroot Keshik, and I'll be doing this campaign with custom builds on expert difficulty. So, with that in mind, strap yourselves in and prepare for drop. This will be Grizzly.
You requested my presence, Sakan.
Moments ago, a comms tech transmitted a message to the command ship of Star Colonel Emily Wimmer of the 362nd Attack Cluster. It appears the Jaguar command ship is attempting to establish a communications channel with us. I am Sakan Aletha Kabrinsky of Clan Ghostbear. I command the Silverroot Keshik of Alpha Galaxy. We intend to claim a mech asset currently in your possession. I challenge you, Star Colonel Wimmer, to a trial of possession for the Ebon Jaguar Omni-Mech. Tell me what forces you plan to defend this mech with, and where the trial is to take place.
Sakan Kabrinsky. This is Star Colonel Wimmer of the 362nd Attack Cluster. Our mech assets were developed with the type of innovation and ingenuity that Clan Ghostbear could never match. I will bid an entire trinary to ensure the weak paws of the bears are denied our advanced R&D. Furthermore, I name 20% ownership in the Takasha Mecha Works factory as our prize when we prevail in this trial.
And which region of Huntress will serve as the venue?
Huntress will not host this battle. I name the hall of your Grizzly WarShip as the venue for this trial of possession.
Our ship is an invalid setting for this trial.
Your assessment is invalid, Ghostbear. Everything that resides in Huntress, aside from the Jade Falcon Reservation, belongs to Clan Smoke Jaguar. That includes your Grizzly currently occupying Huntress space. But if you insist on arguing this point, I will gladly have my larger fleet of warships resolve this issue.
Neg, Star Colonel. I agree to your terms.
Well bargained and done, Sakan Kabrinsky.
Well bargained and done, Star Colonel.
You have a day to prepare your ship for our arrival.
Desgret Jaguars.
I have read data files on Star Colonel Wimmer. Her reputation of reading situations and leveraging them to her advantage is well-founded.
Fighting on the Grizzly poses significant risks.
Their Omni fighters will try to pick us off before their machines have to lift a finger.
And when they board, they will try to overrun every section of the ship.
I have done my research on the Ebon Jaguar. It is renowned for absorbing a ton of punishment and remaining operational. We have our work cut out for us, but securing these Ebon Jaguar mechs is worth the risk. How do you want us to approach this trial, Sakan?
Bravo, I want you to position yourselves on the dorsal hull and wait for the Jaguar's initial force. Rook and his elemental star will be posted on the ventral hull. I will lead Alpha at the keel of the ship.
As ordered.
Alrighty, so we have quite the fight ahead of us. Space combat on board the hull of a warship. Really cool. We heard about this in Smoke Jaguar's campaign on Santander about Sakan's trial. And it was cool to hear about, and now we get to actually experience it. We're flying towards our vessel for some reason. I'm not 100% sure why we don't just start on it, but hey, whatever. So this is going to be an interesting mission. I rather like it. I think it's really cool. It's got a dynamic skybox, you could call it, with like ships and stuff around. And we are going to be just defending our ship and taking out Smoke Jaguar to gain, the mech asset of the Ebon Jaguar. So we wouldn't really, I think, be doing this because the first time the Ebon Jaguar is really seen by the Inner Sphere was the Battle of Luthien, which happens after Alshane, which is the main campaign focus of Flashstorm. But it doesn't matter. This is a cool way to bring it into the game, so it's all good. This is going to be, I mean, just look how cool that is. But this is going to be a little bit tough for maneuvering because while moving speed-wise isn't too terribly encumbered or inhibited or whatever, going over terrain, falling down, jumping around, you're going to be slower on the fall. It kind of leaves you out for attack a bit easier. As you can see, we're being briefed on what's going on. We're getting a little bit of a pep talk. And as you can see, my star is a little bit different from the last mission. I actually dropped my weight down from 65 tons to 50 tons for the Nova. The Hellbringer's great, and it's here. But I didn't want to make use of it for myself because I wanted to have some jump jets and I wanted some center torso extra armor while doing so, which is why I'm not using a Huntsman personally. I'm also using a whole bunch of small lasers, which isn't going to be the norm for the rest of this campaign. I just wanted to get up close and be brutal against these forces, so that's what I'm doing. And as you can see, I'm getting lit up, but some of these explosions are AMS. I do have a decent amount of AMS in this star. So we're just trying to focus fire down everything we can because, well, the trial is basically to destroy each other, and that's what we're doing. I liked here in the beginning of this, setting up the trial with Sakan Kabrinsky and Star Colonel Wimmer. The way they bartered back and forth a little bit was pretty cool. That's typically how things go for trials amongst the clans. And I also liked the little setup of getting the Grizzly to be the showcase for the battle, of how Smoke Jaguar's like, everything in our space outside of the reservation we gave Jade Falcon is ours in terms of taking up our space. So we can either fight aboard your Grizzly, or your Grizzly will no longer occupy Huntress space. pretty bold way to basically get a fight to happen on top of it. Now, this is actually a pretty cunning strategy because win or lose, there's definitely going to be some extra damage to Ghost Bear assets, right? There's no worry about damaging Huntress. The warship's going to take hits. It's not going to do too much to its armor per se, but some little sensors and whatever else definitely could take a hit. And it's really not at any real detriment to Smoke Jaguar outside of course, their forces. So now they're talking about the Ebon Jaguar and how it's renowned for standing punishment, and they're talking about that in mid-battle, and that's true. Lore-wise, it can take a lot of punishment. I do have to say, despite that being the lore, it feels a bit weird that you can't do anything to the center torso of that mech in terms of custom builds. You can't add any armor or anything like that, which you would think a mech renowned for surviving would let us make it even more survivable in that capacity, because that's ultimately what's going to matter for most of destroying a mech, is taking out the center torso, and we can't enhance it in any way. Bit weird, but what are you going to do? So the range of the ER Smalls is definitely decently lower than it used to be. I'm fine with that. It takes a little getting used to. Sometimes I shoot too early, but it still is a very useful tactic. The firepower we can put out for the heat totality and everything is very, very much beneficial for the goal that I have here. Do not discount the Jaguars. Between their mech assets and their Omni Fighters, they can hit you decently hard. And the Omni Fighters in space definitely are harder to take down than they are planet side with their maneuvering and whatnot. So be aware of that. As you can see, my Nova has taken a decent amount of damage already, and we just started. I'm okay with that though, because I do know, like in every mission thus far, there will be repair bays, and I'll be okay to take it out, or not take it out. I'll be okay to recover, even though I just had an armor breach and some structural damage from a Jagatai fighter. They have a potent war gear setup, and they can maneuver quite well, so be careful. And we have the banter about, the harshness that they treat Jonathan, who is the new guy both to the Silver Keshik and to the Tumen in general. So there is that. This is a weird shadow cap, by the way. I don't know why it's here, but we took it out. So we're basically like fighting ship to ship here on the Grizzly, and then taking out those forces on the other ship. I just really like this. It looks really cool. We get a sense of scale of these warships. They have pretty cool designs. We get to see the space in the background, blow up some of our ship by accident, take out this Kit Fox, and then see the jump ships in the background and the Jagatai fighters and everything else. But this battle is far from over. So they bring up the concept of patience, and in this case frustration setting in, and in the cutscene prior that this battle will test Jonathan's patience. Patience is something that Ghost Bear really takes pride in, so that's why it keeps coming up. Well, that escalated quickly. I like Starcomber's reasoning for this, which may or may not have some bearing or clout to it, but clearly it is kind of a bit of a jerk move. But also, at the same time, not just because I'm a Smoke Jaguar fan, I will try and not so much justify this, but explain it away a little bit. You see, in the trial against Jade Falcon, we had to deal with artillery strikes. They had it set up. Here we're in space, surrounded by warships. There's no artillery strikes to speak of, but there is ordnance from a warship to impact the hull. And while some parts of the warship is damaged, it's no different really than massive artillery bombardment, which is still kind of a jerk move. Look, I'm not trying to say this is right. I think it's pretty dirty, but it also showcases savagery. And if we are going to be trying to look at all of this, I think we could say that Smoke Jaguar raked the enemy ship. It didn't just keep it in one spot, so it wasn't looking to cause true warship destruction, right? It raked the surface, causing a lot of surface damage and some basic minor damage, but still, not cool. Also, feels a bit weird. I think this was done purely to, again, establish Smoke Jaguar antagonistic kind of a plot point, because I don't know, it really felt random and out of nowhere, but nevertheless the deed is done and we'll just have to deal with it. I don't hate it or anything like that. It just, when it first happened, I was like, oh, this is where that cutscene comes from in the trailer, and oh, that's just a weird reasoning for it. But if it truly is reactor fluctuations, that is also kind of funny. Maybe a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. But it offers some downtime to repair while we do the objective of scanning different regions of the ship to see how the damage is. I also like how this brings out resource caches to scan for salvage purposes, because it's like, how are they going to do this? It's our ship. Well, this is how they're going to do it. Damage happens, we get to scan and tag things for salvage, more or less. So these Omni Fighters are actually kind of annoying to deal with. They have speed on us and some range, and I have some serious hang time here. So the optional objective for destroying all the aerospace fighters, I will not be successfully concluding because it's tough. I like the dynamic background. You see like the jump ship and other ships kind of moving around. We have a drop ship coming in, which that's never a good sign, but whatever, we got bigger fish to fry. Such as, crushing this area and then coming face to face with a whole bunch of Smoke Jaguar mechs. And a variety in weight classes. I like that. And of course, you got to watch out for clan elementals, so just stay tuned for that, or not tuned, but keep your eyes peeled for that, I suppose. And we get, of course, typical banter back and forth during trials like this amongst your star and the enemy. Facing off against Novas and Hunchbacks, you got to be careful. I would say speed and maneuverability is just across the board a bit haywire here. So, like, I don't really feel particularly speedy. The jump jets help. And that's not a negative, mind you. That's just the way this kind of sets up. And there's a whole bunch of clan elementals, so watch out. The big thing about this trial is going to be stamina, for sure, because we don't have ammo repair base, and there's a lot of ordnance arrayed against us. This is quite the fight. I really like fighting aboard the hull of the Grizzly. It's a really unique circumstance, and if we're going to justify repair base being on the surface, plus if we look at, the lore behind this happening, of course, in actual Battletech, fighting on top of ships like this is a thing. And the fact that, there's some ordnance coming in, we gotta watch out. And the fact that we also have the cutscene of the direwolf situation where mechs were clamped aboard it to add further anti-air firepower. It seems like the clans and kind of warship design in general accounts for mech combat on top of it. So in that capacity, we could justify there being repair base on the surface, I suppose. So we now have another problem. On top of dealing with everything we're dealing with on these fighters of the aerospace type, mechs and elementals, and some bombardments to dodge here and there, we also have a dropship, a Union dropship to deal with in terms of its turrets being activated. And this is pretty cool because this is the first time we're seeing a dropship flying around in space, rotating as we fight against it. Now this is where having these ER smalls really is a detriment, but we'll work with it, it will adapt and overcome. One of my recommendations is let this thing come to you. Remember, we're an expert, so things are hurting, but let the Union come to you. Don't necessarily, and there's me shooting too early, but don't necessarily try and rush to get there. And when you do, just focus fire on any of the turrets. I don't care which one it is. The LRM 20 turret I'm not as necessarily worried about as I am this pulse laser and other turrets. But you want to try and focus fire because the Union is rotating. And when the Union rotates like this, we have to fire when we can, because certain things are going to become out of our range of our field of fire, that's the word, as it rotates. Don't worry about trying to cripple it down in one absolute pass, but rather focus on clearing the field around you. We have elementals, we have some, I believe, mech assets to deal with as well. So, it could just be elementals. I think the mechs come later. But it's a lot to deal with. So we also have those Omni fighters to deal with also. You're going to get a sense of where that Union dropship is, even if you can't necessarily actively shoot at it or target it reliably, because you're going to see those red triangles in the distance. So I like how it makes loops around and comes around for another pass. We did a decent job in hitting its spots, but I'm just going over to try to see if we can see it, and I'm like, nah, it's not worth it. We'll let it come up and we'll just move on to the next sector. So right now what we're doing, ever since that warship opened fire on our Grizzly, we are scanning the damage in the different areas of the ship to just assess how bad it is, and it's been mostly deemed minor for now. So I will say that if Smoke Jaguar is trying to do serious damage to this warship, they definitely could have, and I think that's part of why they raked it. Maybe because it was a legitimate spike in reactor output causing a weapons discharge, or maybe because they're just treating it like artillery fire and also being kind of ruthless at the same time. That's up to you to decide. Probably, like I said, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. In any case, I'm also ruining my own ship here by walking across it, because while yes, mechs can clamp to warships' hulls to defend it, the hulls aren't designed to be walked on everywhere, so you gotta be careful. Luckily, there's no like health bar for our warship to worry about, so it's just mostly for the purposes of the mission, cosmetic damage. I have no idea what these different parts are and what they could feasibly be doing, but if they were really that dangerous to damage, I'm sure we would have heard some comm chatter about walking over it. So, we want to start firing at this Union whenever we can. I find it more beneficial to take this mission a little bit slower because we don't have a timer to scan things or anything like that. And this Union can definitely lend some weight of firepower to the Smoke Jaguar stars. So being able to kind of face it on its own, really thin it down, is going to help. As you can see, trying to take out this pulse laser and these autocannons. At this point, it's, things like this Gauss and whatnot are obviously dangerous, but I'm less worried about cherry picking because there's less turrets left. And really it's going to be sometimes purely about what turrets you have direct access to hit. Be aware of where you're walking. I haven't tried to fall off the Grizzly, but they do make mention of the fact that you can fall off this thing, and I'm sure if you aren't careful, you will, and that's probably a destruction. So luckily our AI is intelligent enough not to waltz off this thing. So is the enemy AI, but we gotta be careful. So we did decent damage to this Union. We're not destroying the Union, we're just disabling its offensive output. It takes a lot more to destroy a Union than what we're doing. And there's another jump ship. Now, while jump ships lore-wise, and I haven't done that lore video yet, I do intend to do that video, but jump ships lore-wise really can't maneuver much more outside of just maneuvering around where they're at. They don't have like thrusters for in-system flight truly. So what we're seeing isn't necessarily out of the norm. And it makes for an interesting space background. I really like this setup. It's pretty cool. I like the design of the Grizzly. We get the color on it. We get to see the symbol and everything. It's just a really well done mission here. So we scanned that last area. And now we are finishing off Clan Smoke Jaguar. However, we are also not looking like a spring chicken anymore. So while this is the end, we can't take it for granted that we're going to just waltz right through them. Luckily, we have custom builds, but which definitely helps since the expert difficulty is pretty decent. However, we have both the Union and mechs to deal with. We have to take care of both. We can let the mechs come, which is kind of what we're doing. We're kind of standing still, either forcing them to come to us or letting us come to them when we're done. And we're trying to just take out this Union as best we can, which is a little risky as they draw closer, but with the firepower we have, the Union is almost dealt with. The reason why I kind of want to deal with the Union, like we did, is because if it keeps going, it's going to go all the way behind us and eventually loop around and just take a while. So we take a little extra damage, but we burn through the Union, and now we can burn through this star. At this point, I'm not really utilizing any true shot placement or tactics aside from just trade blows, and we have the firepower and the armor and elementals with us. We can just burn into these guys as best we can, but don't take them for granted. As you can see, my leg is hurt. They love legging me. In fact, they legged me. I don't know why they do that a lot more now, but it's definitely a lot more now than it used to be, but that's okay because we took them out. I think every time I play through this, I've been legged, which is kind of funny. So the kind of ease or casuality, if you will, that's not really a word, but I'm using it, that Starkwarmer accepts as outcome, makes me almost think like they kind of expected this, or it's not really a big deal to them. Because we, well, hello there, Elemental. Because, we took damage along the way. Obviously, they don't want to lose, but it just, I was surprised that there wasn't some, like, outburst or whatever. So, clans have their honor after all. So we did rather well there. I got legged, kind of further showcasing that problem.
Impressive pieces of clan engineering, Kuyoth.
I suppose.
This one's payload capabilities are quite impressive.
But it comes at the expense of land speed. Normally a death sentence for the way our formations are deployed fighting other clans. But it should be effective enough against slower spheroid designs. But this one I like. Impressive payload capabilities, heavy armor. It still manages to maintain a familiar speed profile.
Does it? I can never tell. Compared to my fire moth, everything else feels slow and sluggish.
You know, most of us still think you are crazy for piloting that thing. You do not make our jobs easy when your mech can be crippled with a single heavy weapon hit.
Well, I am not here to make your jobs easier. Besides, they would have to hit me first.
So, what happens now?
We travel to our holdings on Arcadia. There, we finish our preparations and link up with the Armada before heading back to the Inner Sphere.
Any word on our target?
Aff. Con Jorgensen is entrusting us with taking the most crucial system to our entire invasion.
Which is?
Gather your star. You will find out.
Gustav Manson. It is good to see you again. How may I help you?
I'm here with data requested by the I mean, Con Kombrinsky.
Very well. You will find her just ahead.
Thank you.
I have seen freeborn scientists with more spine than that weasel.
Con Kombrinsky? I bring the information you have requested.
What can Comstar tell us of Elshane's defenders?
Comstar has confirmed that the system is defended by the elite Second Sword of Light, further reinforced by the 6 Alshane regulars.
Good. That will be all, Adept Manson.
I cannot say I have missed his blubbering over these last few months.
At least this adept knows his place among his betters. You cannot deny. The intel Comstar provides is being invaluable to us.
Meg, I cannot.
Upon my ascension to Sakan, I promised all of you that Con Bjorn and I would stop at nothing to achieve the means to support our clan's long-term occupation of the Inner Sphere. Today, we target our most vital objective towards achieving that goal. The industrial system of Elshane. This district capital is unlike any other our clan has encountered. It is rich with minerals, breathable atmosphere, and holds not only heavy industry capable of battle mech production, but orbital shipyards, once capable of producing warships. This world could one day eclipse the strategic value of all other Ghost Bear systems.
securing us not only a base in the heart of the Inner Sphere, but achieving what Leo Showers and Operation Revival was always meant to do. To have the clans return from exile. It is why Khan Jorgensen and I have committed all of Alpha Galaxy to fight for control of this planet. A fight not just for glory or honor, but for a world that all ghost bearers could one day call home.
Lofty goal as we rank up our honor to level 11. So yes, Alshane is now in our sights. Despite the fact that we are at an increased risk of getting legged, we should be just fine. I really like those cutscenes. Star Captain Lilith Hall definitely is, impressed but doesn't want to seem impressed about these mechs. The Night Gyre is definitely an impressive piece of kit. And yes, Aletha Kabrinsky, the Suckhon, is known for piloting a fire moth because she's insane. So I also like the adept of Comstar being so blubbering like that. I mean, what would you do if you step forward and were suddenly faced with an elemental, right? I don't think you could ever get used to that if you're from the Inner Sphere. Rook is great. I enjoyed the voice acting and everything. Just job well done with the cutscenes. And we are now back in the Inner Sphere after the Year of Peace. At this point, we are now conquering this world of Alshane while the rest of Ghost Bear conquers other worlds. Of course, we have our experience to keep an eye on. And with Jonathan, I like giving him max fast learner because it will pay off in the long run. He'll quickly accrue the experience back and get to level up other more important stuff later, if you will. But that's going to be it for this mission. We have successfully gotten the Ebon Jaguar, which is what I chose immediately. I prefer it over the Night Gyre, even though I can't add stuff to the center torso. But the Night Gyre is fun, and we will eventually see that as well. So, going to just continue doing my research and everything else to get ready for the next mission. And that's really it. Definitely want to play your merit points carefully because you'll get several mechs at a time kind of introduced to you, and you won't be able to really afford them all, but you might be able to afford more than one depending upon what you do with your merit points. So I try to play it a little bit more careful as we go. And that's it. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, take care.